Getting a lot of attention, and you'll see why. Conservationist Paul Rosalie set out to be eaten alive by a green anaconda.
Yeah, I felt it! I felt it! Oh!
Little frog has more toxin than any other animal on Earth.
Jaguar versus dingo, anaconda against giant spiders, poisonous frogs facing off with crocodiles and caimans. A clash of titans awaits as experts predict the eventual reunion of continents, setting the stage for an epic showdown between Australia and the Amazon. The clash between these unique ecosystems is set to be legendary. Join us as we explore which side will emerge victorious in this clash of animals between the Amazon and Australia. Australia versus Amazon, the epic clash. Experts anticipate that over the next 250 million years, the continents will shift and collide again, bringing the unique wildlife of Australia and the Amazon rainforest into direct contact. This rejoining of the land masses is expected to set the stage for an epic evolutionary battle between the animals adapted to these starkly different ecosystems. While we'd have to wait for eons to witness this geographical rearrangement firsthand, humans may unintentionally bring these animal kingdoms together far sooner through the transportation of species. Whether deliberately introduced or accidentally stowed away, the interloping organisms often wreak havoc in their new environs. The fatal mismatch between cane toads and Australian predators offers a chilling example. But for those species that can adapt to the alien settings, there may be opportunities to dominate new ecological niches if they manage to evade hungry adversaries. When novel predators infiltrate well-established food webs, their very presence can severely disrupt the existing checks and balances between predator and prey species. Take Australia's introduction of the cane toad in 1935, originally planned as biological pest control for beetles on Queensland sugar plantations. Without any natural predators down under, the poisonous amphibians multiplied exponentially, their toxins proving fatal to native crocodiles, quolls, goannas, and snakes unaccustomed to the interlopers. Tiny titans face off. Among the most notorious animal imports down under, European rabbits have wreaked extensive environmental havoc since their 90th century Australian introduction. Yet thus far, these prolific lagomorphs have been kept relatively contained in their South American range. What factors might be preventing rabbits from overtaking habitats like the Amazon? For one, the rainforest climate proves less hospitable than Australia's temperate zones. But perhaps more importantly, the Amazon already contains a gauntlet of potential spider, snake, and big cat predators, only too happy to feast on non-native rabbits. Speaking of spectacular arachnids, the Australian funnel web surprises with its lightning-quick movements and lethal neurotoxic venom, dropping large prey like mice in seconds. In fact, the Sydney species wields the most toxic venom of any spider on Earth. Now imagine this mini monster pitted against South America's own wandering spider, no meek opponent itself. But the Aussie challenger's venom acts significantly faster than its rivals, potentially granting it victory in a face-off. Even the wrath of a bullet ant, which dishes out the most painfully potent sting in the insect world, might meet its match against a resilient funnel web. Why? Rather than gradually ramping up, this spider's neurotoxin instantly puts the squeeze on nervous systems for maximum damage. Crocodilians clash for waterway supremacy. In the waterways of northern Australia, the notorious saltwater crocodile dominates as an apex ambush predator par excellence. These living dinosaurs stretch over 20 feet long at times, outweighing their next largest rivals, Nile crocodiles, by nearly a ton. Their double-hinged jaws crack down with 3,700 psi, formidable weapons for tackling large prey including water buffalo, sharks, and yes, humans. Now picture scores of these super crocs suddenly deposited into South America's Amazon basin, a region already well populated by its own crocodilians, chiefly caiman and gharials. Though certainly no lightweights, the Amazon species max out substantially smaller than Indo-Pacific crocs, with few individuals exceeding 10 feet and 400 pounds. Clearly, the Australians would boast evolutionary advantages from the get-go. Within a few generations, smaller caiman would likely be driven to local extinction under the unrelenting predation pressure and mate competition imposed by these novel croc conquerors. numbers. Though broad-snouted gharials eat mainly fish, loss of habitat space could also threaten their numbers. In time, saltwater crocs would undoubtedly assume the apex aquatic predator niche across the Amazon and Orinoco river networks, triggering ecological reshuffling in their wake. But how might they fare against electric eels, those infamous high-voltage denizens of Amazonia's sluggish tributaries? Eels have been documented killing caiman, so could their electrical discharges also thwart attacks by mammoth crocs? Electric eels, high-voltage shock troops. The electric eel truly represents one of nature's most astounding living weapons, equipped to emit bursts measuring over 600 volts, enough to easily immobilize most vertebrates. In fact, they employ their living batteries to simultaneously stun prey while protecting themselves from threat. Using electrolocation, they can even track down meals in the darkest, muddiest waters. The electric eel is the cheater animal of the Amazon that will crush all the predators of Australia. They thrive in the Amazon basin, favoring sluggish side channels and tributaries where they lurk patiently amongst submerged structures. Though their electrical whack can drop a horse, eels rarely attack large animals and feed predominantly on smaller fish, worms, shrimp, and frogs. That noted, they will ferociously jolt perceived threats approaching too closely. This was demonstrated when scientists captured rare footage of a caiman receiving the business end of an eel's wrath after biting down for a foolish snack. The high-voltage discharge quickly killed both combatants. Would a saltwater crocodile meet the same shocking demise? Certainly, those formidable jaws could make short work of any eel attempted as prey. However, repeated experiences getting painfully lit up would condition even the most stubborn crocs to give these fish a wide berth in time. Opportunistic by nature, crocs would likely stick to easier targets than expend energy pursuing challenging lightning rods like electric eels. In this case, coexistence seems the probable path, as intimidation gives way to mutual avoidance. Piranhas and predatory fish. Films often portray piranhas as aggressive devils, swarming to strip unlucky victims to skeletons within seconds. In truth, these ubiquitous Amazon inhabitants rarely form into deadly shoals. Red bellies actually feed chiefly on seeds, fruit, and leaves, only occasionally scavenging injured fish or dead animals. Still, the notorious black piranha deserves healthy caution. They will bite threatening creatures that encroach too closely. What about introduced crocodiles? Young, naive individuals might make the mistake of sampling these vicious fish, but most would discover less hazardous prey through unfortunate trial and error. Because even juveniles quickly reach bite strength capable of severing digits, few crocs would risk tangling with piranhas without good cause. Payara, Amazon's other saber-toothed terror, shows little hesitation in pursuing large prey almost half their length. Though adults would prove risky targets, smaller Australian arrivals, including platypuses and pythons, should keep their distance from open waters. But the tables can turn. After maturing each season, piranhas migrate downriver in massive armadas, easily prompting other river giants to give way, at least until the phenomenon passes. So Payara and visiting predators alike have learned to essentially bow in temporary deference, avoiding interference. Green anacondas. In an epic battle between Australian arrivals and Amazonian apex predators, the formidable green anaconda appears destined to maintain its supremacy. These constrictor heavyweights have dominated their domain for millennia, possessing both battle-tested weapons and tactical wilderness experience exceeding most antagonists. Reaching 30 feet and 500 pounds at maximum size, the species outweighs Nile crocodiles. But brute strength alone doesn't secure the anaconda's standing. Its skill set shines equally bright. Keen senses detect prey through dense vegetation, tuning into subtle splashes, signaling opportunity. Lightning attack reflexes follow, entangling large mammals before they realize peril is upon them. Deer, capybara, tapirs, and robust birds like herons all perish swiftly in the crushing embrace of this stealthy predator. Notably, even apex predators including jaguars and caiman may become anaconda meals when young or injured individuals blunder within strike range. Yet no Australian imports covered thus far exceed dimensions or difficulty of subduing the large, aggressive vertebrates anacondas frequently conquer. Saltwater crocs may approach comparative length, but concentrate hunting efforts around water and shorelines. Meanwhile, anti-venom immune snakes like taipans would prove far too diminutive to challenge giant serpents that gulp down tapir and regularly tackle 5-meter black caiman.
Arguably one of the largest snakes in the world that we are diving with.
Giant river otters. Giant river otters rank among the Amazon's most spectacular yet underrated apex predators. They're also among its most vocal residents, constantly communicating in whistles, growls, and shrieks. Consider the multi-tonal repertoire clutch in navigating the region's flooded forests, as group coherence proves critical. More remarkably, giant otters hunt cooperatively, jointly attacking even the most intimidating Amazonian heavyweights. Adults reach 7 feet long, leveraging excellent swimming skills, sharp teeth, and muscular jaws that can crack river turtles, piranhas, and venomous snakes alike. In packs, these mustelids tackle prey as massive as black caiman and anacondas, wounding even the thick-skinned by relentlessly biting feet, tails, or sensitive facial regions. But it's their cooperative living, grouping up to 20 otters with communal ranges spanning almost 100 miles of waterways, that makes these animals particularly fearsome. Giant otters vigorously defend home ranges from intruding apex predators, including jaguars. By strategically hazing and mobbing interlopers, the otters can keep even big cats wary of entering the water, where slick otter movements offer further advantage. So how might giant river otters stand against an influx of Australia's aquatic top dogs, the saltwater crocodile? These toothy titans steeply outsize the otter forces, but crocs lack equivalent sociality, instead targeting easier individual prey. In fact, adult crocs get on rather antisocially. Just see their young regionally displaced after illegally overwintering. Could bands of shrieking otter flotillas take on clustered hatchlings or lone subadult crocs straying too far upriver? Certainly possible. Their cooperative hunting and risk-taking to defend resources lend feasibility. While giant otters may not seek engagements with saltwater crocs outright, their proactive territorial displays could fortify zones less hospitable for Aussie interlopers. In any case, the otter deserves some benefit of the doubt, given its tenacious teamwork talent. Golden poison frog. Among Earth's most brilliantly pigmented yet perilous creatures, the golden poison frog scarcely exceeds 2 inches long. Yet merely touching one of these tropical treasures proves fatally toxic to most species. Its skin oozes enough batrachotoxin to kill 10 grown men. To put this in perspective, a single frog contains ample lethal poison to wipe out 50,000 mice. Death can occur in under 10 minutes. What evolutionary purpose might such extreme toxicity serve the tiny frog?
Little frog has more toxin than any other animal on Earth.
This depends upon habitat. Rainforest floor dwellers like them leverage bright warning colors to advertise their deadliness to potential predators. Given most vertebrates know better than to sample such vivid varieties, the frogs remain unmolested. Their compound originates from consumed ants and mites. Now transported to novel lands down under, how might the golden frog fare against unfamiliar reptilian adversaries? Native tree snakes and quolls that fatally blundered into sampling cane toads offer clues that curiosity or hunger could override caution at a dire price. Because most Australian vertebrates lack inherited avoidance of neon danger signs. Say, taipan chances upon a brilliant frog and strikes, envenoming its miniature victim, only to shortly succumb to rapidly absorbing deadly alkaloids. Or perhaps attracted by unusual movement, an owl snatches up frog meat for nestlings. Soon, the hatchlings perish. In this manner, even the most formidable invasive predators might potentially forfeit their own lives or reproductive success upon a chance predatory incident. For human visitors, the takeaway remains clear. Looks prove deceptive in the wilderness, and beauty may mask lethal secrets. Whether golden dart frog or cobalt blue ring octopus, even the most exquisite natural treasures demand distance and deference. The jaguars. Throughout South America's forests, floodplains, and swamplands dwells the jaguar, the continent's largest feline. These solitary stalk and ambush hunters claim immense territories while stealthily exploring their core ranges, spanning up to 150 square miles. Virtually any smaller creature is potential prey for jaguars, from fish and turtles to monkeys and peccaries. Their unique killing bite punctures the base of rodent skulls instantly. Now imagine a jaguar detects foreign movement in its peripheral range, perhaps the scent of a dingo on a wayward hunt. Well practiced in masking approach, our cat creeps noiselessly through dappled light, ultimately spying on the wild dog temporarily separated from its packmates. Though similar in size, the husky's wolf ancestry makes it better adapted to open habitats than forest darkness suddenly shattered by a pounce from behind. What other invasive showdowns may erupt between cunning Australian tricksters and Amazon's camouflaged kings? Consider confrontations like feisty Tasmanian devils against stout-clawed giant anteaters, or wallabies pitted against jaguarundis and ocelots. Likely these South American mesopredators would scarcely recognize Aussie interlopers as either prey or rivals initially. Could such naivety enable invading bandicoots and possums to temporary footholds in Amazonia before the ecosystem's enforcers take note? Inevitably, deadly learning curves await any down-under pioneers squaring off against established jungle monarchs. And none remain deadlier than that old-world cat who conquered New World tropical forests 8 million years ago, our spectacled friend whose name is literally onomatopoeia for a lightning killer. The elusive Jaguar. Blue-ringed octopuses. Dotting Australia's intertidal pools dazzle tiny yet exquisitely enchanting cephalopods. The thumbnail-sized blue-ringed octopus. When calm, these cryptic crustaceans camouflage nearly flawlessly among silty shallows. But what happens the moment they feel threatened? Suddenly, our diminutive 8-armed buddy flashes iridescent warning rings while rearing aggressively. However, would-be aggressors should heed these visual cues, because the beauty belies a sinister defense mechanism, making the mini mollusk among Earth's most venomous creatures size for size. The neurotoxins packed within each probabilistic contain tetrodotoxin, the same compound formulated by pufferfish and blue-ringed octopus venom that shuts down nervous systems, immobilizing victims through paralysis while fatally arresting breathing. To give perspective on potency, 2 milligrams of TTX supplies enough poison to kill 100 adults.
First, he threw up many times. Then he couldn't see well, and his muscles stopped working.
Clearly, one must give seemingly harmless blue rings wide berth. Obviously, then, bright Amazonian poison dart frogs would be ill-advised attempting to interfere with such extraordinarily toxic sea creatures, no matter how visually alluring their appearance. Any exchange of toxins via skin contact or inadvertent uptake could rapidly prove fatal for either party regardless of native habitat. With both frog and octopus biochemistries refined toward utterly immobilizing vertebrates and more vulnerable to absorbing each other's secretions. Perhaps mutual avoidance proves wisest for these vividly chromatic, yet mutually vulnerable, potentially lethally conflicting counterparts, regardless of domain difference. Brazilian wandering spiders. Within the dark recesses of Amazonian rainforests lurks a particularly unsavory arachnid adversary, Phonutria, the wandering spider. What makes this spider so intimidating? For starters, its leg span reaches over 5 inches wide, but more critically, these spiders brandish profoundly potent venom. They are, in fact, the most venomous spiders in the Americas. As cousins of the deadly Sydney funnel web, wandering spiders share quick, decisive predatory tactics and startlingly toxic payloads. When threatened, they instantly assume an aggressive posture, bearing formidable fangs. However, unlike funnel webs and most true spiders, wanderers actively hunt prey rather than passively netting meals in webs. Appropriately then, wandering proves an ideal descriptor of their movement mode, perpetually patrolling forest floors after dark, scanning for scorpions, crickets, small rodents, and frogs to inject with their neurotoxic cocktail. That venom produces severe reactions including pain, tremors, loss of coordination, and even paralysis or death in extreme cases. Primate victims suffer the most severe effects, but the compound generally poses a high risk to all mammals through both bites and contact with mucous membranes. So, theoretically, the wandering spider appears well equipped to take down adversaries as large as opossums, anteaters, or kinkajous. Against invasive foes, wandering spiders wield critical advantages over smaller venomous species, like blue-ringed octopuses. Though potent, the octopus relies upon a paralytic compound that's slower acting than the spider's lightning-quick nervous assault. Before experiencing the full immobilizing impact, mammals could fatally retaliate. Conversely, biting spiders might perish rapidly from cephalotoxin, while wandering varieties escape unscathed from the sting. Bushmaster snakes. Throughout Amazonia's forests and swamplands, a cryptically camouflaged serpentine titan lurks, equally content ambushing prey from forest floors as gliding through murky waters. Growing over 11 feet in length, bushmasters brandish deadly armaments and perilous potency on par with cobras and mambas. For good reason, natives both respect and fear these imposing pit vipers. When confronted, bushmasters show no hesitation to aggressively stand their ground, hissing and striking repeatedly. Their hemotoxic venom attacks blood cells and organs before lethally crashing blood pressure. Yet despite menacing capacities, bushmasters retain a conflict-avoidant disposition by nature. In fact, adults sometimes refuse to strike even under direct threat. But the snakes will assertively defend egg clutches if disturbed, and they may occupy key habitat corridors contested by competitors. Under such confrontations, how might bushmasters match up against smaller yet supremely venomous taipan snakes from Australia? Could their cooperative venom glands unleashing larger yields overcome taipan neurotoxicity? Interestingly, zoologists group bushmasters among only a handful of sizable pit vipers boasting dual venom advantages, larger yields maximizing bite potency and highly complex compounds. Compared to terrestrial cousins like lanceheads, bushmaster venom contains additional toxins specifically targeting the nervous system, potentially engendering paralysis. Scientists theorize this neurotoxic component offers a critical edge against adversaries as dangerously armed as coral snakes. By comparison, inland taipans generally deliver more modest venom volumes in defensive bites, and their strictly neurotoxic formula lacks enzymes to spread toxins through surrounding flesh. These factors could counterbalance the taipan's distinctly swift and potent venom formula. Faced off with bushmaster fangs, inland taipans would likely suffer catastrophic envenomation through the larger injections and spreading necrosis. Box jellyfish, the mini monsters. With translucent bells smaller than human thumbnails, box jellyfish seem innocuous to the naked eye. Yet brushing against these delicate driftwood lookalikes spells instant agony, their stingers unleashing enough venom per creature to annihilate 60 humans, making them arguably Earth's most toxic animals by weight. And the Indo-Pacific seas harbor the deadliest medusas of all. The boxed tentacles routinely kill over 5,000 bathers annually, striking too rapidly for first aid. What makes the box jelly's weaponry so extreme? Their stinging cells contain toxins, specifically targeting heart and nervous tissue with ruthless precision. The venom not only overwhelms organs and paralyzes muscles nearly instantly, it also liquefies skin cells, stripping flesh down to bone in some cases. Unchecked stings can kill within 3 minutes through precipitous spikes in blood pressure and sealed airways. Now envision an unsuspecting rainforest frog, perhaps a waxy monkey tree frog, or brilliant golden poison dart variety, investigating one of these ornately delicate bells washed ashore after a storm. Lured by the pulsating lure, it brushes a tentacle when bracing to leap. Within seconds, catastrophic cardiac arrest knocks our little herpetological jewel lifeless, bested by the medusa's mini biochemical bombs. In this manner, even Amazon's most infamously toxic frog species armed with batrachotoxins may suffer defeat by box jelly envenomations, because the frog only retains skin secretions as defense, no match for injections of lightning-fast vascular poisons and blistering dermal necrosis. Truly, size proves irrelevant given the extreme refinement of stinging cells transmuted into micro-missiles concentrating pure chemical chaos. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. There are reports of a strange new reptile lurking in the Amazon. They are said to be the cheater animal of the Amazon that will crush all the predators of Australia. These mysterious creatures are rumored to be smaller than regular caiman but possess the agility of snakes. They combine the lightning reflexes of serpents with the raw power of crocodilians. The smallest known caiman species in the Amazon is Cuvier's dwarf caiman, which can reach lengths of 5 feet. Even with their modest stature, these reptiles also pack a formidable punch. What do you think? Which reptile has superior strength and would prevail in a standoff, those from Australia or the Amazon? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Taipan snakes. Among Earth's roster of venomous snakes, Australia's fierce taipans rank among the most notorious, and with good reason. They include the planet's most toxic land serpent, the aptly named inland taipan. Just a single drop of its venom packs enough punch to send 100 men to their graves. Equipped to unleash nearly a 1/4 ounce in one bite, This snake is a veritable poison dart machine gun, but the taipan's lethality owes less to its venom stockpiles than pharmacological properties, specifically neurotoxic peptides that attack nervous systems with devastating swiftness. In fact, their venom can fatally paralyze rodents in under a minute. Small wonder Aboriginal folklore paints taipans as vengeance incarnate. Fortunately, taipans generally avoid striking humans whenever possible. The snakes much prefer fleeing to picking fights. When threatened, these reclusive recluses retiringly retreat if escape routes appear accessible. Only when continuously harassed with no perceived alternative exit do taipans wheel to face aggressors. Envenomating larger animals wastes their precious reserves. However, their rapid-acting venom still offers taipans a critical advantage in facing nearly any adversary, including Amazonian pit vipers like Bushmasters, because even decisively bested in physical combat, the Aussie serpent might still manage to land an incapacitating, if not deadly, parting shot with a lightning reflexive nip. Such an invisible advantage could deter persistent harassment from any remotely wary predators not immune to toxins themselves. Cassowaries, modern-day velociraptors. When most envision ferocious animals down under, big-toothed crocodilians, testy snakes, or fierce waterfowl like geese may spring first to mind as stereotypes. Yet a reclusive rainforest runner attacks humans more frequently than any creature from reptile to shark. Surprisingly, the culprit menacing northern Australia proves a flightless bird, the muscular mahogany machinders called cassowaries. And for good reason. These hefty birds brandish feet boasting sharp 4-inch claws capable of disemboweling unlucky souls who startle them. In fact, their powerful legs both outrun Olympic sprinters while delivering kicks packing over 1,000 psi, enough force to shatter ribs or snap necks instantly. Cassowaries leap into flight on a whim either when spooked or angered thanks to this deadly karate capability. Natives and experts alike warn against approaching cassowaries in the wild for highly aggressive territorial displays.
And they can be very, very aggressive towards humans. So it's very unique that I'm getting to be
often foreshadow spontaneous footblade attacks. The birds fearlessly charge groups of humans that unwittingly stray too near, inflicting gashes deep as knife stabs, hence their status as the southern hemisphere's most dangerous avian encounter. Known challenging native Australia's fiercest inhabitants, including wild dogs and huge pythons, gives the cassowary serious intimidation cred among rainforest residents. Now transported overseas, cassowaries would surely make enclosed forest predators equally weary of confrontation after learning firsthand what razor talons and dynamic fast kicks these birds wield as living raptors. No land creature south of Komodo would view such potential adversaries lightly. Bullet ants, the bug warriors. Deep in the shadowy recesses of the rainforest, colonies of bullet ants aggressively guard their nests against all intruders, earning notoriety as possessors of the most painfully potent stings of Earth's entire insect kingdom. Just one sting from this giant ant inflicts a sensation so excruciatingly hot and electrically explosive that victims liken the experience to being shot by a bullet, hence their evocative moniker. The blinding, searing pain results from blistering levels of both histamines and acetylcholine injected by the ant's massive stinger. But the true torture stems from lingering after effects, including throbbing, shaking, and weakness persisting for over 24 hours. Those suffering multiple attacks may experience cold sweats, nausea, and episodes of paralysis. Without modern medicine, fatalities sometimes result. What possible function merits the evolution of such shockingly excessive defense measures? In truth, bullet ants require exceptionally sturdy forts to shelter their colony's massive numbers. Unlike spiders spinning fresh webs repeatedly, ants invest tremendous resources in creating permanent nest walls and tunnels necessitating vigorous upkeep against invaders from army ants to opossums. Only by inflicting memorable torment can bullet ants persuade most intruders against returning. Now picture a naive Sydney funnel web spider infiltrating a bullet ant mound, its desire for a ready-made lair overriding caution. The ants would swiftly swarm the startled arachnid, exacting numerous unrelenting attacks until the trespassing spider retreated for good, or perish in place through the agonizing stings. Invasive pest species. Rabbits and cane toads are two Australian organisms that became famously destructive intruders abroad. But curiously, South America's regions already harbor wild populations of both European rabbits and endemic cane and marine toads, yet neither currently pose major invasive pest issues. Why might this be? And could Australian imports ever attain invasive supremacy in Amazonia? Let's start with lagomorphs, Europe's rabbits spread rapidly across southern South America, roughly 150 years ago. Yet many proved unable to expand ranges north into tropical rainforests for multiple reasons. Those attempting migration would need to contend with numerous jaguar, anaconda, and harpy eagle-sized predators. Plus, breeding rates likely slowed thanks to the Amazon's year-round warmer conditions. Rabbits reproduce less actively in hotter latitudes. Regarding cane toads, natives like the giant marine toad fill an ecological niche similar to Australian imports. So the latter would encounter intensified competition from the former, already acclimatized. In general, the Amazon's extensive complexity has prevented a widespread invasion by adaptive generalists that conquered more recently colonized Australia and remote islands. The rainforest contains such a formidable diversity of incumbent predators, parasites, and diseases that it functions almost like an isolated continent that newcomers struggle to infiltrate. Exceptions occur, but decisive advantages like novel weaponry are often necessary. Absent some extraordinary leg up then, potentially harmful Australian species would likely join the food chain at intermediate levels rather than attain true invasiveness. Monitor lizards and non-venomous snakes didn't overcome New Guinea's disciplined ecosystems. The odds of securing pest supremacy seem equally low for Aussie imports established among Amazonia's hyper-diverse and ruthless inhabitants. The flooded forest's ecosystem. While saltwater crocodiles and some birds could adapt readily enough to Amazonia's dim forest floors, multiple Australian species would struggle with a more challenging feature: the basin's vastly extensive seasonal floodplain inundations. Up to 400 square miles of rainforest become entirely submerged each year, creating a dynamic habitat with unique selection pressures. Take those Australian vertebrates that nest in burrows, caves, or hollow logs. Tasmanian devils, wombats, dingoes, and various wallabies naturally seek out dry, elevated refuges to birth and raise vulnerable young. But the yearly rise and fall of Amazon floodwaters eliminates most permanently dry forest floor spots or riverbanks, with the exception of scattered hills popping up like islands. Only robust swimmers could disperse widely, and that aquatic mobility would still prove crucial for accessing sporadic terrestrial havens remaining above high water lines, canopies of partially submerged trees, buttress ridge crevices, or limited elevated banks. Consider poor platypuses. The specialized egg layers would surely struggle to construct safe burrows given the forest floor's perpetual moisture and instability. The sheer extent of seasonal inundation poses major difficulty even for adaptable species like foxes or monitor lizards that succeed as sly terrestrial generalists abroad. Finding sufficiently large, dry areas supporting vulnerable burrows and nests would perpetually challenge mammals, and lower-lying trees might shelter some birds, but inhibit hunting more than assisting arboreal species. At times, up to 75% of the entire Amazon basin floods. That's over 2.5 million square miles, an area larger than Alaska. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.